Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to yet another Dracula entry, as I've been trying to work in more of those lately and, get to some of these ones that I'd never actually seen before. And this one was definitely better than that Frank Langella one that I posted about last Friday. And I didn't even know that this one existed until it kind of popped up on my YouTube feed. Like, not to actually, rent the movie or anything, but just literally the whole movie was uploaded onto YouTube, so I put it in my little watch later list for a while and finally got around to it. So this entry here is for the 1973 Dracula by Dan Curtis, led by Jack Palance. Now, Jack Palance, many of you undoubtedly know him from the City Slickers films, but he also appeared in Batman, Tango and Cash, a whole bunch of stuff, and from the deep recesses of my childhood memories, the reruns of Ripley's Believe It or Not, the TV show. Now, the synopsis for this one, like the Langella one, is Dracula, but specifically it states, Dracula is searching for a woman who looks like his long-dead wife. Yeah, Dracula. So how did this one do? Well, this one may be a little bit short as I'm kind of running out of stuff to say about Dracula in particular, but this interpretation was a TV movie, so the pacing was a little bit different. You can kind of tell where they were leaving some time for commercial breaks as well. But the first thing to really stick out is that they spent a solid 30 minutes out of about an hour and 35, hour and 40 minutes just doing the Harker meeting Dracula stuff at the beginning. So it's a stark contrast to the Langella one where they just completely seem to blow right over that one. So it was nice to get some of this, especially this creepy scene of this carriage driver kind of showing up, being really enigmatic and dark. Everything's very foreboding, really setting the tone. Some of that kind of, we'd seen later on in the Coppola version as well. But when it comes to meeting Dracula, Palance comes across as very stoic, but powerful with his quieter, more subdued speech at times. He would counter it with a show of a lot of strength and mystery and even romance, this allure, with this underlying threat always building in the background. He is just so obsessed about just moving to Carfax ASAP and even interrupting the meal he had prepared for Harker to just go over the pictures and blueprints right away so we can get over there. This half hour was spent well, though, and it kind of reminded me of later adaptations, like I mentioned with the Coppola one. And when it comes to arriving on the Demeter, well, in this film, that was practically non-existent. Just a quick shot of a wrecked ship and Dracula setting off, Also non-existent was Renfield in this one, which is strange that both this one and the Hammer one had left that character out, as I always really enjoyed that character, kind of seeing that point of view from that character. Similarly to how the last Dracula film I watched had made me want to watch The Last Voyage of the Demeter, which I did and I really enjoyed. This one and the Hammer one, having omitted Renfield, was just kind of strange, but it definitely makes me want to revisit Renfield again. So that'll definitely be a one-off that I'll probably revisit again sometime in the next week or so. But anyways, our middle portion in this deals mainly with the loss of Lucy and expanding the danger and the threat. The usual build-out as they seemed, outside of the omission of Renfield, to want to try to keep this a little bit closer to the book in some ways. So lots of this was the usual Dracula. The only things that really stick out separately were either omissions or possible different ways of portraying Dracula. Now, for this performance, like I said, Palance kept up with the stoic and subdued aspects really well, making his shows of threat and violence and even the romantic angles stick out more. They definitely have a lot more impact in this portrayal. Though I will say that this Dracula didn't seem quite as smart and cunning in this one, being able to be literally find himself cornered as if being caught in a situation that happened because he just simply didn't think to plan or to be kind of wary of the possibility. Though I did like this one much more than the Langella-led version, I can't think of much else to really dive into on it, other than perhaps they used Oakley Court as their setting for Carfax, which not only was used in a bunch of other Hammer films over the years, but perhaps most recognizably a few years later in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. But yeah, all in all, this is a very solid film. It's not my favorite of the ones that I've been checking out recently, as that Hammer one still kind of holds the top hands down. And there are other interpretations years later, such as the Coppola one that I keep bringing up, or even the Nosferatu one from 2024, which I do enjoy those a little bit more than this one. But all in all, if you're looking for a throwback Dracula film, which, seeing as it was a TV movie, you may have missed or may have not even known that it ever existed, I think you'll find this one to be more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest Dracula entry for Dracula from 1973. Some of the listings will have it as 1974, but it's starring Jack Palance from filmmaker Dan Curtis. At the time of this video, it's on YouTube, so I will link to it either in the description or on the end screen, so be sure to check that out if interested. And with that, I only have one more planned for this series, mainly just because, these interpretations have been on a watch list of mine for years, but also after 4 interpretations, it may be time to take a bit of a break from Dracula, especially with throwing The Last Voyager of the Demeter and Renfield into the mix. I need something new. But this final entry coming up next week may lead to one extra one after that, because if I do enjoy it, I do want to check out that sequel and see what I think of that one as well. Or maybe I'll just try to throw both of them into one longer than usual video and then get back to some other kinds of videos on Friday. But if you are interested in those, be sure to like this video if you enjoyed, and if not already a subscriber, consider subscribing, hitting that bell icon to get notified for when I post those other videos, and I will see you in the next one.